Welcome to another installment of the iSportsman video tutorial series. This one is about lottery. For this particular video, we're just going to set you up with a simple lottery because there are so many different ways that you can run your lottery and that we support. I'm going to break those into a separate video. So for this one, this is just to set up a simple lottery where you have one pool that everyone gets drawn against and one entry permit and one lottery winning permit as well. Alright, so to set up your lottery, the first thing you want to do is set up your entry permit. We call them permits here because basically anything is a permit to us, but you can call it an entry application, whatever you want to. But what you'll want to do is you'll want to come to permits and then select permit schedules. That'll bring you to this page here, and as you can see, I already have several lotteries set up. But today we're going to step into Deer Archery Lottery. So you'll click Add Permit Schedule, but since I already have one here, I'm just going to go ahead and step into it and go over the things that I think are important to note when you're creating yours. Of course, name it something that will be obvious to the end user. And again, since this one's already set up, let me show you what it looks like to the end user first. So the end user will go to Acquire Permits, and this is where they see, their entry permit. They can add to their cart and such. So to start, what I'd like to do is just say one thing about, or something quick, in general, how the lottery works. The lottery works by having an entry permit. You have a validation when the drawing is done of a lottery, and it's that validation that gives the user access to the winning lottery permit. So we have the entry permit. We have the validation that is granted when a user is drawn, and then we have the winning permit. Okay, so let's go into the entry permit. Of course, name it something intuitive to the users. Set your permit type to lottery, and you will set your permit groups. This will be part of the lottery entry group. Okay. Of course, you can put whatever description you want in here, rules, regulations, and a picture, whatever. Well, I guess I should note, if you don't know how to set up your permit schedules, there's a separate video tutorial and help documentation here. If you go to the right here, you can see View Help. Here again, we have our how to set up your permit, and it goes into detail of how to do that. So I'm not going to go too much into how to set up your permit schedules. I just want to touch on the few things that when you're setting up your lottery entry permit, you need to be aware of. Okay. Dates. This one is basically, if you're not already aware, you have your available date range and your valid date range. Your available date range is when this entry application for your lottery is going to be available to your users. Pretty straightforward. Set when you want to start issuing or make it available to your users, and set the end date. So the end date should pretty obviously be shortly or before you actually run your drawings. Don't allow people to enter into the lottery after you've actually run a drawing. So know what your start and end dates are for when you want to allow people to enter your lottery. The valid date ranges, they can mirror your start and end dates here for your available date ranges. It really doesn't matter at this point because this particular entry application isn't really used for anything other than entering into the lottery. So it can be invalid in one day. It doesn't matter. You're in the lottery. So all this permit is doing is putting you, when they put it in their cart and they issue it to themselves, they're getting a submission into the lottery. So other than that, you really don't need to use this permit. One thing to note though is if you want to limit the number of entries that a user can have, then you'll want this end date to match the end date of your available date range. And that is so that if you only want to allow users to enter once, which should be done down here, maximum active per account, set to 1. If you only want to allow them to enter once, then you want to keep that permit valid through the course of the lottery, because if you have it expire in one day, let's say, tomorrow they can come back and enter in the lottery again, because their permit will have expired. It won't be active anymore. So safe bet is just set your start and end dates of your available date ranges to the same the same here, start and end dates, so that they match. Seasonal, we don't need to really go into this because this is just your entry permit, and again, all this is doing is allowing the user to enter into the lottery. All right, so one of the other important things that we need to note is who is allowed to enter your lottery. Is it civilians? Is it active duty? Is it residents, non-residents, and so forth? Keep note who you are allowing to enter into this lottery, because the winning permit has to have the exact same eligible customer types. Okay. Pricing rules. I'll just mention here age restrictions. This is something that might be used where you want to have an entry permit for the general public and a separate entry permit for those who are over 65. Say maybe there's a price difference. You want to have a discount for seniors. You could do that. So you would you would clone this one, and then you would go into that clone of the permit and set this to 65. All right. Requirements. There's no requirements for this. Anybody can enter as long as they're of the right customer types. Click Save. Okay. Let's go to the list again. So here so now let's pretend I clicked Save and we have our Deer Archery Lottery entry permit. The second thing you want to do is, remember when I talked about how the lottery works, you have your entry permit, you have your winning validation, which allows you to see your winning permit. So now let's create our winning validation. So you go under admin. It's not under admin. I thought it was. It's under check-in. Where is it? Oh, there it is. Okay. Under admin, select validations. Okay. You'll click add validation. And again, I already have one here. Archery. Oh, here it is. Deer Archery Lottery winner. I'm just going to go into that one. The end user doesn't see this except for on his printed permit. All right. So, name it something that's intuitive to both the administration or administrators and the end users. The expiration type, I don't like to use the number of days. I don't know why I did that here. So let's set this to the end date. So basically this validation will be good all the way through to the end of the lottery season. And what I mean by that is when they have a winning permit and they're allowed to, let's say, deer hunt from May 1st to May 30th, I would set this date to May 30th. It's hypothetical. Of course, those wouldn't be the season dates, but just so you know. So set this date to be the end date of the season for that activity. All right, you can click Save. All right, good. All right, so we have our validation. So now let's go into create our winning permit. So again, when you run the lottery, you have all your participants, everyone's entered, you run your drawings. What that drawing does is, all it does is it gives them a validation. And when it gives them that validation, it allows them to have access to the winning permits, the winning goods. And let me scroll down and show you real quick what that means. Here, down in the requirements of the winning permit, I created a one already here. As you can see, I've named it Deer Archery Lottery Winner, and I'm just going to go scroll down into that pre-made one here and here, requirements. you want to check this box here. Hide this permit when any required validations are missing. And then what you want to do is make this permit require this validation. So if the user or the losers or the guys who haven't won yet, they won't even see this permit available in the cart. So that's what that does. So hide this permit from anybody who's not a winner, and let's require the Deer Archery Lottery winning validation. That is the main part of this winning ticket. All right. So the other main part when you're setting up your winning lottery ticket is you set your permit type to lottery, of course, and you'll set your permit group to lottery winner. And I'll explain why that's used later. Of course, you want to make it snazzy, so when they do win, when they're shopping and they log in, they can see this nice little information and banner and picture and stuff. So your available date ranges, the start date will probably be the day prior to your drawing, just to be safe, because no one's going to have access to this thing until they get the validation, so it doesn't really matter. So you can set the start date one day prior to, the day the drawing is going to be. And then the end date would be when the last drawing is going to be done. Wait, let me see if I said that right. Let's see, the winning, nope. Yeah, so when you want people to have already selected their winning ticket, whatever that end date. So this is for the user, when you want it to be available to them after they've been granted the validation, and when you want them to no longer be able to get that winning permit. Now the valid start date and end date, this is a little bit different than the entry permit. The valid start and end dates go along with the activity start and end dates for the lottery winning. So like if you have Deer Archery activity, that this needs to correspond with. So the start, when does the the activity start? When are they able to go out and hunt deer? Start date, and when is the last day that they can hunt deer? That would go here. All right, and it's pretty straightforward there. Why did I set this to 365 days? Let's go ahead and set this to use the end date. So we're going to use the end date instead. So your date options is basically, I was basically saying the winner of this gets 365 days to hunt, but in reality that's not going to happen. You're just going to use the end date of your valid end date there, and that's all that's doing. Now again, remember when we're setting up the entry permit, we have the eligible customer types. The eligible customer types here must match exactly the eligible customer types of your entry permits, because you don't want people to be able to enter yet not have access to the winnings. All right. Age restrictions. The age restrictions should match the entry. And sales category, of course, is pretty straightforward there. I don't need to go into that stuff. Maximum active per account, leave the default to 1. You don't want someone to grab 2 winning permits because it would be pointless. Okay, so again, here we get to down the requirements. You'll want this checked, and you'll check whatever validation the winning permit requires, and then we're done. Click save. Bink. All right. All right. So now that we've set up our winning permit, our entry permit, and our winning validation, now we actually get to set up the lottery now. All right. So let's go to the drop-down permits, select lotteries, and as you can see here, I've created several, and today we're going to stick with Deer Archery Lottery Group. All right, so let's go into that one. Oh, what you'll do actually, you'll click this button here. Click Create New Lottery Group, and what that'll do is just you can name your whatever you want to call it. In this case, I called it Deer Archery Lottery Group. And once you've created your lottery group, you'll be able to create your lottery. And like I said, I'm going to do a simple lottery for this one. For those other lotteries, like if you want to have multiple weeks, like week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, those would all be separate lotteries, all grouped into one lottery. I don't know if that makes any sense, but maybe it will when you watch the advanced video. So for this one, we're just going to create a lottery. Click this button right here, and it'll create something like this. You'll name your lottery whatever it's called, and here's the, I guess the main portion of your lottery where all the activity happens, and that's in your pools. What's going to happen is when you create a new lottery, it's going to create a default ticket pool. This is the ticket pool section here. And what that'll do is you want to go into that pool and add which customer types are eligible for that given lottery. And again, remember when we have the eligible customer types for your entry permit need to match your eligible customer types for your winning permit. You want to have all of those customer types available in your pool. So those three must match. That's very important. Let's say if I didn't have civilian in here, if I deleted this, and someone's able to enter, there won't be a pool for them to go into because you messed up and pulled out civilians. So there'd be a lot of upset people. So make sure those three things match. All the customer types for your pools match your entry permit and your winning permit. Okay. All right. Here you can see I just entered two example people, Aluan and Ben Pitts, my teammates. These are participants. You can see that they've entered the lottery, and I'm going to enter it in a second. So they are either civilians, local residents, or non-residents. They're entered into, and you can see here are filters here. You can actually see once you've done your drawings and such, you can filter the, let's see, I only want to see those who have won, or I want to see those who have withdrawn, or you can do say I want to see a specific account, in which case you know. All right, so there's our participants, our customer types and pools. So let's go back into our lottery, and here you can see, oops, where is it? There we go. You can separate your pools. So if you wanted to have one pool where it was just civilians, and you wanted to have another pool that was, say, active duty, where you wanted to say give active duty a preferential treatment, where you wanted to do a higher ratio in one, from one customer type than you would another, you can do that here. So we can create a new pool. Let's say let's call this I don't know, non-residents. Okay. And I'm going to add a customer type. Of course, your customer types are all going to be different. I'm just showing this as an example. So when a non-resident enters into the lottery, he'll automatically be put into this pool. So, but what I want to do there, let me go into the civilian pool, and I would pull non-residents out of here. So they wouldn't go into this pool too. So if you actually have, that brings up a good point. So if I had non-residents in this pool as well as the other one, guess what? They're going to be in two pools, which is cheating. Although, if you wanted that to be the case, you wanted active duty to be in two pools, you could do that, but it's up to you. All right. So we go into, so as you can see, now we have three pools. I'm going to break the second video is going to be talking about drawings and participants, but let me make sure we've gone over everything. Oh, we didn't. Okay, so let me go back, start over with groups. So again, we created Deer Archery Lottery Group, and within that lottery group, we created a single lottery. But here is where we can define our entry permits or our entry applications. And all you'll do there is you'll click Add, and you can remember when we were at the permit schedules, we created our entry permit. You'll select that, click Close, and we already have it here. So, but that's where you'll create, where you can have more than one. You can say, let's see, I want. Let's go to the next page. Sure. Just as an example. So you can have more than one. That's all I'm pointing out. You can have multiple entry permits. So if you wanted to have, again, general permits and those for active duty, you could do that. Or the senior citizens get a discount. That's where you would set that up. Okay. Deleted that, and now I think we are done. Here again, once you're in a particular lot, you can see all of the participants on this tab here. This is going to come in handy in the next video. I'll show you how you manage your pools and winners and losers and such. But that'll do it. See you next time.